everyone's really going to be able to tune into this, but we wanted today to do a brief discussion about the transition between Parable of the Sowers to the sequel, which we are currently reading, Parable of the Talents. Both books are by Octavia Butler. And Octavia Butler in the recent history has become a big discussion of her work because her books were published in the Parable books were published in the 90s. And the first book was set in 2024, and it is 2023. And it seems like Octavia had such foresight. She predicted the future. And it's like, wow, are we really living in a dystopian world at this point? But what I want our community to actually understand is that Octavia was writing Parable based on the history. And that what we are going through is a reoccurrence of past history. And no, we haven't learned from our mistakes. Parable of the Talents might be a little triggering because it's set in 2032, but I'm sorry, I'm feeding my kid at the same time. So you might hear baby drinking their breast milk from a bottle noises. But a lot of some of the language in the book, though this book I believe was published in 98, 94. I really was reading it the other day, and I went back to the copyright page to see when it was published because I was like, the Make America Great Again, the Are You Silent or Were You Silenced? And Oprah Winfrey is a reader, so I would not put it past her that she picked that up from Octavia. It tracks. But so much of the language, particularly around politics and education and people's wariness, seems very, very familiar to the lives we are living in the society that we live in today. Though we are not that far into the realm of like Handmaid's Tale, reemergence of slavery in the United States, sort of. We're not that far into it, but it doesn't necessarily feel that far away when you read this book. I do want to encourage everyone I want to encourage everyone to read with us, but also to like take your time with the book. It's understanding if popular books from iconic literary Black women are harder for you to get through in 2023. A lot of people, especially these Toni Morrison, Octavia Butler, what other books have we read? Just if you get into more Black feminist texts, tend to be very, very popular for people who have gone through reading these books in a classroom setting, and that includes fiction books. And so we want to be able to do more work to make the readings more accessible, but nobody's grading you, nobody's judging you here. Parable of the Sower was set in 2024 through the lens of Lauren Olumina, who was a teenager in the book, and she's narrating living in a crumbling American society where people have to kind of live behind walls to evade or attempt to evade the deep violence that's happening around them. In Parable of the Talents, we are reading the journals of Lauren Olumina and then the Bankole, who becomes her partner, at the end of Parable of the Sower through the lens of their child, Taylor. And as predictive as Parable of the Talents feels, I appreciate the historical aspect of it and the way that Octavia weaves the historical narratives into this book, because when we talk about in modern society not having any leaders, I wonder, have people ever gone and looked up the current positioning of the former radical leaders of the civil rights movement, of where their children are currently at? A lot of people who were radical political figures in the civil rights and even the broader decolonization movement that happened through the Americas and Africa and South America. Well, South America is the Americas. So the Caribbean, Africa, South and Central America. Many of those people, their children have gone on to hold more moderate, centrist politics. They've gone on to either work with the government in reformist positions or work with institutional think tanks. And even for a more modern sort of lens of it, you can look at if you're into Tyler the Creator Earl Sweatshirt and his relationship with his mother, who was I want to say she's a Black feminist academic, but the sort of sacrifice that people make to have a commitment to the collective struggle, the sacrifice they made within their own households often leaves their children feeling like the sacrifice wasn't worth it because they took the biggest loss. And so it is interesting to read a book that feels very based in the lives that we are living now from the lens of someone who is very hurt by their mother's commitment to building the Earthseed community. And to hear the way they talk about their mother and they narrate the book, especially coming from having read Parable of the Sower and getting this sort of internal lens into the mind and the makings of a Lauren Olumina, and then to read how her child is receiving this person. It's definitely a fascinating journey. I will say that much. I can't even see if there are any comments. So yeah, that's all I really wanted to come and talk about. I was hoping that one of the cohort members could join me, but we're here by ourselves today. One of the people that helped to draft the Parable of the Talent syllabus, because it is a really, really well thought out syllabus. And hopefully they'll be able to join me on Friday for the discussion on the prologue through chapter 4. We have been reading this book through June. We are going to wrap it up this month in July, but we want to give people a time, like even if you wanted to just go back and do a refresher, speed read the audiobook, put it on speed it up double time, 2 times, and breeze through the Sower, look at the spark notes, look at the summaries of the book. The Wikipedia page is of both of the books barely breaks down the plot line of the book. And I honestly feel like, I don't know, do you have to read Parable of the Sower? I think it's very, very helpful, but I do think you can also read them in reverse, because they do go back over a good bit, or at least summarize a good bit of the story from Parable of the Sower in Parable of the Talents. So it's not like you are missing out on context if the first book you pick up is Parable of the Talents. I think you can get enough of the context from the book that you can read it in reverse, essentially. I'm like, where's my chat? Why can't I see it? Let me pull it up. That's the scariest part of the series. We're living in it. Who did you watch do a talk together? I would love to look up the talk as well. Damn, I don't have 2 hands right now, and all these pop-ups are on my screen, so I can't even see all the comments. Hold on, give me a second so I can read some of the comments that y'all are leaving. Oh, I read Parable of the Sower first, so I'm a stickler like that. I just want to, I'm just trying to think, as I read, we read Parable of the Sower 2 years ago, and I'm telling you, I have a newborn, so my memory is shot, okay? I could probably definitely benefit from rereading Parable of the Sower, which would be my 4th reread of it. But even with my limited memory of the book, I don't feel like I'm missing out from not remembering a whole lot of the deep detail by stepping in. Oh, you're talking about Earl Sweatshirt did a talk with his mom. It's on YouTube. Okay. Yeah. I think that's actually a good reference point. To think about the way that Taylor is discussing her mother and her father. Somebody's titty milk drunk right now. Yeah. I'm on chapter 10 right now. And I'm doing the audiobook version of it, which I absolutely am enjoying the audiobook because it's read with different voices. So Bancoley's journal entries are read by a male narrator. There's a different voice for Taylor. There's a different voice for Lauren's journal entries. And it feels very dynamic. I'm a little scared to say that I would like to see the Parable series on TV or film, because Kindred, which was recently released as a TV series on was it Hulu? It was so bad. I didn't even get past episode 2. I think one of the things that Octavia does really well is like handle the nuance of culture, how handle the nuance of modern cultural movements. Because that's how a book that was written by a 50-something-year-old woman in the 90s can resonate so well 30 years later and feel very, very contemporary. Means that I feel like people should be more inclined to honor her work and not change the details of her writing, because everything is, it feels like her writing feels like books that are written with a lot of thought and with a meaning to the larger story. So Parable of the Talents, I mean, I'm absolutely enjoying the audiobook. I want to encourage y'all to join in and pull up for the discussion on, I know it's Friday at 6. Some of y'all are outside. I'll be outside during the day, which is why it's at 6 o'clock for me, because I'm inside in the evening. But I'm excited to get into this book and get into the dynamic elements of it and what everyone's thoughts are on reading about Lauren, who people have such deep prophetic attachment to after reading Parable of the Sower and seeing her as wise for her age and the adultification of Lauren as a teenager, but then to read her through the lens of her child, who finds her to be very selfish and immature. So I'm really excited to discuss that with you. All right. I don't know if anybody has any other thoughts. We'll keep this light, keep this short. I should have the book on me. Why? Like, my book is in the diaper bag. Because when we go, I have a lot of doctor's appointments this month. So when we go to the doctor, I'm like reading the physical copy. Here's the title. Let me. I don't want to like move the screen. I was like, how do I add an image to the screen? I don't know. Oh, here we go. Overlay. This is the cover for people that are not familiar. Dead in the center of the page. But it's very, very good. Adultification steals emotional growth. I mean, yeah, I think as I'm reading this book, even though I'm inclined, oh my gosh, this kid is pinching me. As I'm reading the book, even though I'm inclined to like want to be really dismissive of Taylor's feelings, it's like, I'm sure that I know there's more storyline, I overview all the syllabi. So I know kind of where the story goes already, even though I haven't read it for myself. But even in maybe the wrongness that I might believe that Taylor is steeped in, I don't think she's wrong for believing her mother to be emotionally immature. Because even as you're reading the journal entries, it's sort of overzealousness in her wisdom of Earthseed. It's like, yeah, girl, you could use some hubris. Yeah. But what does it mean to want to see radical change in a time as violent as that? I mean, what does it even mean to see radical change now? Because I'm even cautious of this idea that somebody needs to bring it down a notch in pursuing change considering how similar to the world of Parable of the Sower and Parable of the Talents, we do live in a world where people just want to hold on to the closest comfort, regardless of the harm it actually brings, because they get so little comfort in life, and how stymieing that is to actual progression. Yeah, I'm excited for Friday's discussion. It'll be Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Turn in, pick up the syllabus. It's definitely necessary for this book. It's definitely a lot of reflections. It's definitely a lot of thoughts. And don't be scared that the book looks thick. Octavia is such a great writer that it is much easier to get through. This is not a difficult read. All right, I will see. Yeah, blame the uncle. I haven't gotten to that part, but I know it's coming. All right, I will see y'all on Friday. We're doing again prologue to chapter 4, and then every week after this, we'll have a discussion for Parable of the Talent. So plenty of time to join in. It's such a worthwhile read, and we are doing a lighter read next month. So I might come back and do a final discussion for Parable of the Talents overall in mid-August, since we're reading Honey and Spice, which is a romance, spicy, zesty novel. I've already read that one. It's so good. So I'm so excited to do that with y'all next month. But we're getting Parable of Talents this month. So I will see y'all on Friday. Goodbye.